Welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am CA Disha Veera and have my co-host Manisha Vyas with me. Today's session is an extension to our video series called Getting Your Optional Subject Right. We shall be discussing international taxation today. And to discuss this topic, we have a very special person with us, CA Sakshi Modi. To mention few of her accolades, I would say she's an AIR 23 in the CA final attempt. She got AIR 50 in her CA inter. She did her articles from Dhruva Advisors and is currently working with Dana and Company. We're very pleased to have you, Sakshi.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you guys.
That's great. Super. So today's video is structured in a way that we shall be talking about why you can, or what are the things you should keep in mind while selecting international taxation, what could be your preparation strategy, and how you should sit for your exam. So without much ado, let's start with it.
So, hi Sakshi. I think the first logical question for anybody who's deciding on an optional subject is why a particular subject. So, my first question is why international tax?
Right. So that's a very valid question. And, given that there are 6 options given by the institute for choosing an elective subject, there is a lot of brainstorming and a lot of confusion involved in deciding which subject to choose. And same was the case with me as well. So the thought process behind choosing international tax was mainly that first thing that came to my mind was where exactly does my interest lie? Because only based on the interest can you actually study the subject and excel in that. So in terms of interest, there were largely 2 areas where I was keen on. One was finance and the other was tax. So in that aspect, I had 3 subjects already shortlisted, that is RM, capital markets, and international tax. Now, I was very keen on choosing capital markets, but there were 2-3 major drawbacks which kept me back from choosing capital markets. The major one of them being that there was SEBI laws involved in capital markets, which is almost 300 pages. And when I spoke to my seniors and certain people who had chosen capital markets, I came to know that SEBI laws only asked for 30 marks. So, I mean, studying 300 pages for just 30 marks pulled me a bit back on choosing capital markets. So that was out as an option. Then I started choosing the elimination method to decide on which of the 3 should I choose. And then there was a lot of discussion with seniors, examining the past papers, seeing the study material on, if actually on a deeper level, the subject interests me, etc. So there, in terms of RM, though the material was really comprehensive, but then when I actually read a few chapters briefly, I realized that that was not exactly where my interest lies. So RM was also ruled out in that sense. And then finally it was international tax that I was left with. So I was also pretty much comfortable with that, given that I had done my articleship from Dhruva, where I had a lot of exposure already from a practical perspective in tax. So I think that really fitted well with my choices. And though one would say that the study material is pretty bulky and there are a lot of nitty-gritties to it, but again, if your interest lies in something and you've already got to leverage basis your experience, then international tax is a no-brainer option in that. And in terms of the cons of the subject would be that so I had given my exam in July 21, and in the previous 1 or 2 attempts, the paper was extremely difficult. So I was a bit skeptical on those lines as well. But then you never know when the paper may be easy and when it may be difficult. So that may not be a really valid basis to decide on which subject you want to choose.
Right, I completely agree. I think that the same was the case for risk management as well. Like we had a difficult paper in the previous attempt, and
Right.
It was a little difficult, I felt, for our attempt as well. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Our next question is, can you explain what international tax is in like just a couple of lines?
Sure. So, majorly the 30 marks of international tax which we have in the DT paper, international tax is just an elaborate version of the same 30 marks. So, if I have to apply the 80-20 rule and explain what exactly international tax syllabus was, it majorly covered transfer pricing and non-resident taxation. Not that you can ignore all the other small chapters that come along, but I mean, they were the core and the crux of the entire syllabus. So, basically, if so there was one more synergy in that sense that the 30 marks of paper 7 can be easily covered if you're doing paper 6C, that is international tax. So it's by and large the same syllabus, just that there are more elaborative provisions, there is more case laws, practical applications, and there is one additional law in terms of the Black Money Act, but I think that's pretty easy to grasp in that sense.
Okay. And can you explain exactly what was your preparation strategy? Like, are there any books that you recommend? And on the other hand, like, are there any books that you don't recommend explicitly, like don't recommend?
Right. So in terms of books, I think, I had referred to some videos on YouTube which suggested that you should refer to the Income Tax Act, you should have the rules, you should have the OECD commentary and all. But I think that's practically impossible considering that you have other 7 subjects as well to prepare and not just international tax as one. So I found that a little difficult to handle given that there was limited time and stuff like that. But in terms of what books to refer, I would seriously suggest that sticking to the module will be sufficient. But if you want to go one step further, there are certain classes which offer extracts of OECD commentaries and certain important case laws over and above that mentioned in the ICI module, which is a good to have, but not a must have. So that is something that you can fall back on. And apart from that, what I had done in terms of the study strategy was that while I was reading the ICI module, I had marked the important stuff in the module with 2 types of colors. So one was for all the concepts, and the other was for any monetary limits, penalties, or time limits. So, that is something which is a memory game. So if you really have to open the book in the exam, you just have to look at, you need to open it to look at those limits and in terms of the timelines or the monetary limits. So just by changing the color, it becomes easier to trace whatever you're looking for from an exam perspective. Apart from that, past exams, mock papers, and whatever case studies which are recommended by the institute is something that I had solved before going to the exam.
So basically, you just relied completely on whatever was the material provided by the ICI, be it the study material or the questions released by the ICI, right?
Right. So I had also referred to JK Shah classes, but then, yeah, as I mentioned, that's a good to have and it's not a must have. So not that if you don't take up classes, you will not be able to ace the exams. So as I mentioned, so JK Shah has its own book for international tax, but then which is around 800 pages book. But then I realized that, it may be difficult to refer both in the exam, and there was a lot of overlapping materials, and JK Shah considered its book to be comprehensive. But I was of the opinion that module is required in the exam by hook or crook. So then what I did was, those additional material in terms of the OECD commentary or case laws, what was mentioned in the JK Shah book, I just stored those pages and created a separate book out of that for whatever was the extra material. So there was no overlapping in terms of whatever I was carrying in the exam.
Okay.
Okay, so Sakshi, you told us about how you made your notes, you color coded them. I was wondering if you've made an index sheet for yourself. So what would you recommend to students like who are pursuing international taxation? What kind of index sheet should they make?
Right. So I had made an index for myself, and I'll try to see if I can, grab that out, and I'll upload a link for that. But what I had done additionally for the index was that I had made a consolidated index for the module, the extra notes for the classes which I mentioned, and for the case studies in terms of past papers, etc. I had also made an index for them in terms of what are the concepts that are covered in those case studies, so that if there is any repeat case study in the exam, it will become easier for me to identify which that case study is. And an additional thing apart from the index was that within the index, I had made 2 extra columns. One was, to mention any section numbers or rule numbers, etc., which that particular item related to, and the second column had any monetary limits or time limits or penalties involved. So if this is specifically helpful in an MCQ scenario where you don't recall that limit, so you can directly see in the index and there's no need to actually flip through the pages in the book and find out what the amount was.
Okay. I think I followed a very similar approach, and the point about having case studies in your index sheet is very important because there you can get direct answers to certain questions. So that's really good. So our next question is, what was your time allocation for this optional subject? Where did you position it in your study plan? How many readings did you do, and how did you plan on revising the subject?
Right. So, I was advised that you may not require to give so much focus to the elective subject, given that it is an open book. But I personally did not like that approach, and I had given equal importance like all the other 7 subjects. In terms of the positioning for the revision was that I had kept it either before or after my DT revision, so that I could leverage on the 30 marks which were also there in the DT paper. So didn't have to study the same material twice. That really helped a lot even for the last 1.5 days. In terms of the number of readings, I think I had done 3.5 readings. And how I had done it was that I had read the module 3-4 times and, kind of tried to remember all the concepts, given that I had to any which ways remember it for paper 7 as well. So, why not take the benefit of that for paper 6 also? And I had, so first time when I was solving the case studies, I had marked whatever important points or whatever for my mistakes, which I would then refer in my second or third revision.
Correct. Okay. And how did you do your revision there? So your last revision was also just before the exam, reading the module, that's it?
Right. So, given that paper 7 followed paper 6, I had studied paper 6 in the 1.5 days as if it is a closed book exam. And then I had referred to whatever markings I had made in the case studies, because obviously there's no time that you can sit and solve all the 20-25 case studies again. So I had just referred whatever important markings I had made in the case studies.
Okay. So moving on to the final question, paper 6 is the most unique paper because it's the open book paper. So what was your approach to solving that? And in the hindsight, what do you think could have been done better?
Right. So, honestly, before giving the exam, I thought, 4 hours is a very long duration and I will definitely be able to complete before time. But then while I was in the field, I realized that 4 hours is also ideally less. But I mean, one key takeaway after the exam was that closing the book and writing is faster than opening book and writing it. So if you're planning that, okay, it's an open book exam, I just have to read the material once and I'll be able to figure out an exam, that's not possible. You will have to put an equal amount of effort. I would suggest that in the first 15 minutes, you chart out whatever case studies you want to solve and eliminate the one which you want to keep as an option. While that may be a little difficult, but the trick which I had used to figure that out was to look at the questions, whether it is interpretation based or computation based, and decide my level of comfort on that. And accordingly, I had chosen what are the questions that I want to solve. And one key suggestion that I would like to give is only open the book if you know where the answer is. Don't try to flip through the pages and see that, okay, I might find the answer. That's not possible, and you may end up wasting a lot of time in actually trying to figure out where the answer is or what the answer is. So if you know that, okay, this is the place where I'm going to find the answer, only then you sit and open the book. Otherwise, it will be just a waste of time in the exam.
Absolutely. And I think, like we recommended in our previous videos also, it's always helpful to read the question first and then the case study so that you do not end up reading the whole thing again. That was really insightful. Sakshi, thanks for all the insights that you gave to us. I'm sure the viewers are going to benefit a lot from this. So with this, we'll put an end to our current session. Make sure that you hit the bell button and press the notification button so that you get regular videos from us. We shall be posting similar videos for other subjects very soon. Thanks again to all those who are watching us. Thanks, Sakshi, for being there. See you all next time.